Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is June 27th, and right now we are looking at the mid-level water vapor loop. This is yesterday morning to be exact, very early in the morning, and you can see Mount Rainier right here, and you can kind of see some lenticular cloud activity that came across the mountain there yesterday morning, and then we brought these showers, and look at all the lightning strikes across the Cascade Crest and east, and we even got a few lightning strikes to the west of the mountains there as well. You can see down south of Seattle here, just probably near Puyallup, maybe Bonnie Lake out there as well. And you can see some on the west slopes of the Cascades also. And as we went through the day yesterday, you see that activity push up to the north. And then you can see additional thunderstorms here near the Canadian border and out here just to the south of Lake Chelan near Wenatchee. And much more lightning activity there across portions of Idaho and on in through Montana as we went through the day yesterday. And as we go through this morning, you'll notice the upper level low is somewhere located right around northeast Washington. Still getting some thunderstorm activity with that. And you can see those lightning strikes there just off to the west of Spokane, just here pretty recently. So again, a chance of thunderstorms again today. Upper level low will keep temperatures suppressed, but we're going to look off into the extended forecast because we have the 4th of July coming up. We want to know what is coming up here, and I'll show you some interesting trends in the models here in a moment. This is thunderstorm potential today. Spokane National Weather Service as of 5:12 a.m. Here you can see which areas are subject to this thunderstorm potential here. It doesn't include Ritzville, but it does include Spokane. Again, we did have that one pop up here this morning. Now, looking at today, the thunderstorm outlook, you can see it does include Spokane, but it kind of pushes off to the east as we go through the afternoon and then the evening hours and on in through tomorrow morning. And this is the day one here. Just a heads up, if you are traveling eastbound here, or if you're coming out of Spokane or Pendleton, Oregon, Boise, and you're going off in through Montana, or if you're out there watching across Great Falls and Butte, you can see you do have the risk for some significant wind and some hail out there. And there's even a tornado threat that does include Billings, Montana, and better chances as you go towards the Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota border and Rapid City out there as well. This is day two. You can see the thunderstorm outlook largely absent here from much of the Pacific Northwest. Looking at Seattle, 70 degrees yesterday, 3 degrees below normal here. But look at the high temperature back in 2021 for June 26th, 102. And then you see the 104 back in 2021 as well. That would be for today. That was the all-time daily record high for SeaTac, but that lasted only 24 hours as we shattered it the next day with 108 degrees. If you were here, you definitely remember this heat wave, the greatest heat wave across the Pacific Northwest of all time, of recorded history, we'll just call it. And you can see we did add that 100th of an inch to the bucket yesterday, but we're not going to forget that. Anybody who lived through that is going to remember that for probably the rest of their lives. Looking at Bellingham, you can also look back at 2021 and see 1, 2, 3, 4 days in a row of record highs, including the amazing 99-degree reading there on June 28th. 1,300th of an inch, though, in the bucket yesterday, so much better this round. And you can see 63 degrees, 6 degrees below average. I know the Mossbacks across the Pacific Northwest love this cooler than normal weather. Hoquiam, 58 degrees only yesterday, 7 degrees below average, 44 hundredths of an inch of rain, so not bad. And check that out back in 2021, 103 degrees. This is an amazing temperature for the Washington coast. I can't stress that enough. And you can see we also hit 95 on the 28th here. So yeah, interesting stuff. At least we're not living through a heat wave like that again right now. And taking a look at the North American models, we do have these residual showers as we go through the day today, even across some of the central sound, mainly across the higher terrain, thunderstorm activity mainly off to the east. As we scroll through tomorrow, you can see us drying out a bit here, and then we go on into Saturday. We're going to have another system. You can see it start to bring some precipitation to the Cascades. It's not looking like it's going to bring much here. Better chances across British Columbia here, but it's not a very wet system at all, and we'll look at that here a little bit more in a moment. But I also wanted to show you the only thunderstorm threat here after today looks to be maybe Sunday afternoon, northeast Washington, British Columbia, some of the Rocky Mountains, Idaho, and Montana. Now, taking a look here at the European artificial intelligence, I just want to scroll through this here pretty quickly. What we're looking at is last night's run versus the 24-hour previous run there here on the right. So you can see the system we're dealing with now, a little transient ridge slides through. Then we get this weak troughing as we go through this weekend. But then we start to build some ridging here across the West Coast. And models are coming into a better agreement here on just the fact that we are going to be probably getting some ridging here during the 4th of July time frame here. It was looking like maybe a trough would be swinging through here, but models have definitely been consolidating on this ridging solution. And as we scroll on into the extended forecast here, you can kind of see that ridging hanging on. But then as always, as you start to scroll too far out in the forecast, you're going to get these chaotic differences here. As you can see, one model has the ridging and one has the troughing. But let's go ahead and take a look at the European on the left versus the GFS on the right. This was yesterday afternoon. afternoon's run. There's the system we're dealing with now, and the GFS is the global forecast system. This is the United States model, and if we put this into motion, you can see that little transient ridge move through, then the weak system moves through this weekend, and then we start to build this ridging. Both the GFS and the European have it, so confidence is increasing in that, and the European really wants to warm us up here as we start to go off into maybe July 5th. At least some of the solutions are showing this pretty strong ridging there. And you can see the different setup on the ridging here versus the GFS. So both would be fairly warm solutions. But as we scroll off into the forecast far enough, you can see the European keeps the ridging going on through July 6th, and you can see the GFS wants to start to bring this troughing in here, so that will start to cool us down. So it's something interesting and fun to watch as we go into the extended forecast. Some differences start to emerge, as is pretty typical when you start to look far enough out into a forecast. If we look at Seattle, Tacoma, you can see over the next 10 days, the warm-up occurring somewhere around the 4th of July here. Take it with a grain of salt right now, but we are starting to show the signs for the increased confidence and some warmth coming as we go on in through early July. This is Seattle, Tacoma on the GFS here, and you'll hear some locals, the Pacific Northwest local people out here talking about summer usually doesn't start till the week after the 4th of July, and maybe it'll start a little bit early this year according to them. But yeah, you can see that we start to warm up as we go through early July here. It's been a fairly cool month here for the month of June so far here. So I know some people are looking forward to the warm up potentially incoming here, but of course you'll get that argument on the flip side from a lot of the Mossbacks here across Pacific Northwest. And looking at the European, if we look off in towards the July 6th, 7th, 8th time frame, you can see the control run actually showing some temperatures in the mid and upper 80s towards 90 degrees here, but there is some big spread in the ensembles, which is to be expected at that time frame. And if we look at the European, I just want to point out here that this system moving in this weekend is not very wet. Maybe a few hundredths of an inch for Seattle and Portland here, and some places across like the Columbia Basin not get much precip. Some of the higher terrain here will get some thunderstorm activity here, but not a lot of precipitation incoming here with this next system as we scroll through the weekend. And this is probably going to flip and flop here back and forth because this is issued yesterday, but I expect this to change up here and probably look at some above average temperature outlooks here across Pacific Northwest as the models again have been consolidating on some ridging here across the region. Here's a 6 to 10 day and the 8 to 14 day, something similar there as well, but take that with a grain of salt. I have a feeling that's going to change by the time we look at this again tomorrow. And if we look at the national Bellingham models here, this is for today. You can see the temperature suppressed with the upper level low around. As we go through tomorrow, we start to bounce back a bit here. Saturday, not too bad of a day here, but we are going to start to get some clouds from that next system. And there's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. And then we start to warm up as we get towards the 4th of July. So you can kind of see that start to be reflected in the national blend of models as well. And if we look at the 7-day significant fire potential, this has been updated here today. Not too bad here for today, Friday and Saturday, but we may be looking at some increased fire weather threat here as we go through the end of the weekend and on in through the early to mid portion of the following week. We'll be watching and breaking that down day by day as well. But yeah, interesting stuff there. A lot of thunderstorm activity there across the region yesterday. It went off pretty well. Some of the models did much better than others. Like the European model really had this lightning activity picked up across some of the southern Washington Cascades. And the models like the high resolution rapid refresh did not show this lightning potential down here across some of the southern Washington Cascades here. So it was interesting to see the European perform really well with some of this lightning potential there. And then as we scroll through this morning, again, you can see the upper level low right across the area right now. So yeah, I kind of look forward to the warm-up at times, sometimes these year, but I always look forward to once we go back to the fall months as well. I like kind of a mix of nice and cool and get some hot in there at times so you can enjoy the heat here across Pacific Northwest. But for the most part, I know a lot of people like to keep things cool, wet, and green here across the region. But anyway, I hope you guys are having a good day. We're going to break this all down again tomorrow. We'll take a look at the extended forecast as always, and click like and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys then.